The crystalline spires of the Imperial command ship Eternal Dawn glittered against the backdrop of distant stars, its surface reflecting the soft purple light of the nearby nebula. Grand Admiral Vex Thor stood motionless before the sweeping viewport of his private observatory, his four hands clasped behind his back in the traditional pose of deep contemplation. The Admiral's iridescent scales shifted through shades of deep blue to midnight as he processed the latest report from his forward scouts. "Most peculiar," he whispered, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of military experience. The holographic display before him showed readings that defied Imperial classification protocols. The signal they had detected was unlike anything recorded in the Empire's vast archives. The door to his observatory slid open with a soft hiss, admitting First Analyst Zena. Her crystalline exoskeleton chimed softly as she approached, data streams flowing across her transparent form in constant rivers of light. "Grand Admiral," she began, her voice resonating like wind through crystal chimes, "we have completed the preliminary analysis of the signal. I believe you will find the results intriguing." Vex Thor turned, his scales rippling with interest. "Proceed, First Analyst." The air between them shimmered as Zena projected a three-dimensional map of the sector. A single point of light pulsed steadily, marking the source of their fascination. "The signal originates from a system previously marked as uninhabited. We have detected artificial structures in orbit around the third planet, along with a network of satellites and what appear to be defensive installations. A hidden civilization?" Vex Thor's scales shifted to a contemplative green. "How have they escaped our notice until now?" "That's the remarkable part, sir." Zena's form brightened with excitement. "They haven't been hiding at all. According to our temporal analysis, these structures are new. Very new. This species has achieved spaceflight and built a planetary defense system in less than 300 cycles." The Grand Admiral's scales flashed white with surprise, an expression he hadn't displayed in over a millennium. "Impossible. The development equations clearly state. The development equations appear to be invalid in this case," Zena interrupted, her crystalline form resonating with the thrill of discovery. "We're calling them humans. They've achieved in 3 centuries what takes most species 3 millennia." The holographic display shifted, showing images of the human vessels. They were crude by Imperial standards, lacking the crystalline precision and geometric perfection that marked advanced civilizations. Yet something about their design caught Vex Thor's attention. "They're all different," he observed, his scales shifting through patterns of confusion. Indeed, each human ship seemed unique, varying in size, shape, and configuration. Some bore bold markings, others displayed what appeared to be artistic designs across their hulls. It went against every principle of efficient fleet design the Empire had perfected over 50,000 years. "Sir," Zena's voice carried a note of concern, "the 47th Conquest Division awaits your orders. Standard protocol for discovering a pre-imperial civilization is clear." Vex Thor studied the images for a moment longer. These humans, with their chaotic ship designs and inexplicable rate of advancement, represented something he'd never encountered in all his centuries of service. Protocol demanded they be brought into the Empire's perfect order, their creative chaos transformed into crystalline harmony. "Signal the fleet," he commanded, his scales settling into the deep purple of resolution. "We will proceed with standard conquest formation. Let us see how these humans respond to true perfection." As the orders were transmitted, Vex Thor returned his gaze to the viewport. In all his years of service, he had overseen the integration of 17 species into the Empire's grand design. Each conquest had been executed with mathematical precision, each civilization transformed into a perfect reflection of imperial order. Yet something about these humans gave him pause. Perhaps it was their impossible rate of advancement, or the bewildering individuality of their vessels. For the first time in centuries, Grand Admiral Vex Thor felt something he had long thought crystallized out of his being: uncertainty. The Imperial fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect geometric formation, 47 crystalline vessels arranged in a pattern that embodied mathematical perfection. Their arrival was meant to inspire awe. to demonstrate the overwhelming beauty and power of the Empire's order. Instead, they were greeted by what could only be described as an orchestra of chaos. Grand Admiral. Xena's voice carried an unusual tremor, her crystalline form flickering with confusion. The humans are responding. Before them, the human defense fleet had assembled, but rather than matching the Empire's pristine formation, their ships moved with seemingly random purpose. Some vessels sported brilliant purple and gold stripes, while others displayed intricate artwork across their hulls. One particularly bold ship had been painted to resemble something called a space whale, complete with stylized water spouts emerging from its bow. What are they broadcasting? Vex Thor demanded, his scales shifting rapidly between shades of confusion and fascination. The bridge filled with sound, a gentle, rhythmic melody that seemed to float through the crystalline chambers of the eternal dawn. The human ships had begun transmitting music across all frequencies, transforming the traditional silence of space into an impromptu concert hall. First Analyst, explain this, Vex Thor commanded, watching as a human vessel performed what appeared to be a perfectly executed spiral maneuver, its hull gleaming with phosphorescent paint that left trails of light in the void. Xena's form pulsed with rapid data streams as she processed the information. It appears to be a human tradition called elevator music, sir. Specifically, something they call smooth jazz. The lead human vessel is also transmitting visual data. They're calling it a light show. The Grand Admiral's scales rippled with disbelief as more human ships joined the display. Each vessel moved independently yet somehow in harmony with the others, their paths creating elaborate patterns in space. The effect was mesmerizing, a dance of light and shadow that defied Imperial combat doctrine. Sir, the tactical officer's crystalline form resonated with concern. Our targeting systems are having difficulty locking onto their vessels. The humans appear to be improvising their movement patterns. Vex Thor stepped closer to the viewport, his four hands clasped so tightly they created harmonic resonances in his crystalline command platform. The human fleet's behavior contradicted every principle of space combat the Empire had refined over millennia. Their ships moved like dancers in a cosmic ballet, each one expressing its own artistic interpretation of space warfare. Grand Admiral, Xena interrupted his thoughts. We're receiving a transmission from the human flagship. They're requesting a moment of our time to showcase their latest choreography. The bridge fell silent save for the continuing strains of smooth jazz. In 17 conquests, no species had ever responded to the Empire's arrival with an offer of entertainment. Vex Thor's scales shifted through patterns of deep thought before settling on a decisive azure. Accept their transmission, he ordered. Let us see what these humans consider a proper greeting for the Imperial fleet. The main view screen crystallized into clarity, revealing the interior of the human command ship. Instead of the expected military command center, they were shown what appeared to be a comfortable, personalized space. The human commander sat in what Xena's quick analysis identified as a vintage leather office chair, surrounded by colorful displays and what appeared to be potted plants. Greetings, Imperial Fleet. The human commander's voice carried an unexpected warmth. I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We thought your arrival deserved something special, so we've prepared a little welcome demonstration. I hope you enjoy classical jazz. We find it really adds something to synchronized space maneuvers. As the human captain spoke, her fleet began to move in new patterns, their illuminated hulls painting sweeping arcs of light against the starfield. The Empire's perfect geometric formation suddenly seemed rigid and lifeless in comparison to this spontaneous display of artistic expression in motion. For the first time in his long career, Grand Admiral Vex Thor found himself completely unsure of the proper protocol. The humans weren't just defying Imperial expectations. They were rewriting the very nature of first contact. Grand Admiral Vex Thor had seen enough. His scales shifted to the deep crimson of battle command as he gave the order, execute standard conquest pattern Delta 7. The Imperial fleet's crystalline ships began their precisely calculated attack formation, each vessel moving in perfect mathematical harmony with its neighbors. What happened next would be debated in Imperial academies for centuries to come. As the Empire's ships advanced in their flawless geometric patterns, the human vessels responded with what Captain Chen cheerfully announced as freestyle defensive maneuvers. The space whale-painted ship performed a perfect barrel roll while releasing a stream of iridescent particles, creating what appeared to be a rainbow in space. Another vessel, sporting racing stripes, executed a series of tight loops that would have shattered any Imperial ship's structural integrity calculations. Impossible, Xena whispered, her crystalline form flickering with rapid data streams. Their maneuvers defy our combat prediction algorithms. The tactical computer is giggling. Indeed, the Imperial fleet's highly advanced tactical systems were experiencing the equivalent of a nervous breakdown. The human ships moved with a flowing grace that somehow combined maximum defensive efficiency with artistic expression. Each evasive action doubled as a performance piece, leaving the Imperial gunners firing at afterimages and light trails. "Sir," the weapons officer reported, his crystalline form resonating with frustration, "the humans appear to be scoring their evasive maneuvers. They're broadcasting performance ratings for each other's defensive techniques." Through the command channel, they could hear the human pilot's communications. "Nice moves, Jupiter's grace. Solid 9.5 for that spiral defense pattern. Thanks, stellar ballet. But did you see the cosmic whale's triple inverse loop? That's definitely a 10. Captain Chen's voice cut through the chatter. "Remember, everyone, style points count double during invasion attempts." The Imperial formation began to show signs of strain. Ships designed to execute precise attack patterns found themselves attempting to track targets that moved like dancers in a zero-gravity performance. The humans had transformed the battlefield into a stage, and the Empire's perfect geometric strategies were falling apart against an enemy that treated combat like an art form. "Grand Admiral," Xena reported, her voice carrying an unusual note of admiration. "I've analyzed their defense patterns. The humans are incorporating movements from something they call figure skating, synchronized swimming, and breakdancing." Vex Thor watched as a human ship performed what Captain Chen enthusiastically described as a space pop and lock, somehow using its maneuvering thrusters to create a perfect mechanical dance move that coincidentally caused all Imperial targeting systems in the vicinity to crash. "Their pilots cannot be professionals," the tactical officer protested, his crystalline form showing stress fractures. "According to our intercepted communications, their lead defender was previously an interpretive dance instructor." "That's correct." Captain Chen's voice carried unmistakable pride. "Lieutenant Maria Santos taught contemporary dance for 15 years before joining the Earth Defense Force. She's revolutionized our approach to space combat maneuvers. Why dodge traditionally when you can dodge artistically?" As if to demonstrate this philosophy, Lieutenant Santos' ship executed a perfect forward turn, its hull lights creating a spiral of illumination that momentarily blinded 3 Imperial vessels' sensor arrays. The maneuver drew enthusiastic applause from the other human pilots and caused several young Imperial officers to start taking notes. Grand Admiral Vex Thor's scales shifted through patterns of deepening concern. In all his centuries of service, he had never encountered a species that approached combat as a performance art. The Empire's strength had always been its perfect order, its flawless execution of time-tested battle strategies. But against an enemy that treated space combat like a dance recital, those very strengths were becoming limitations. "Sir," Xena reported, her voice carrying a mix of confusion and fascination, "the humans are requesting a brief intermission. They wish to prepare for what Captain Chen calls Act 2, the Symphony of Evasive Maneuvers." First Analyst Xena's crystalline form pulsed with intense activity as she processed the mounting data streams. Her normal transparent brilliance had taken on a rainbow hue, an unprecedented occurrence that worried her subordinates. "Grand Admiral," she announced, her voice resonating with excitement, "I believe I've discovered the underlying pattern in the humans' seemingly chaotic defense strategy." Vex Thor turned from the spectacular view of Lieutenant Santos' ship performing what Captain Chen had dubbed a zero-gravity tango with incoming Imperial fire. Explain, he commanded, his scales shifting to the deep blue of analytical interest. Xena projected a holographic display showing the paths of the human vessels. The humans aren't being random at all. They're performing carefully choreographed sequences adapted from their various dance traditions. Each maneuver serves multiple purposes: tactical defense, artistic expression, and, she paused, her crystalline structure chiming with disbelief, crew morale enhancement. The display shifted to show the interior of several human ships. Crews were smiling, laughing, and moving in rhythm with their vessels' maneuvers. Some had even started an impromptu dance party in their engineering sections. Impossible? Vex Thor whispered, his scales flickering between patterns of disbelief and fascination. Combat efficiency should decrease with such frivolity. On the contrary, sir, Xena countered, projecting new data streams. Human crew performance increases by 47% when they're, in their words, having fun. They've transformed the psychological stress of combat into a form of entertainment. The tactical display showed a human ship called Stellar Waltz executing a perfect spiral evasion pattern, while its crew sang something they called show tunes. Another vessel, Cosmic Ballet, had turned its shield harmonics into a musical instrument, creating defensive resonances that doubled as percussion for the ongoing space concert. They're treating this entire engagement as a performance piece, Xena explained, her form sparkling with revelation. Each ship's defensive pattern is designed to complement the others, creating what humans call synchronized performance art. The apparent chaos is actually a carefully constructed demonstration of their cultural values. Captain Chen's voice cut through the analysis. I hope you're enjoying the show, Admiral. Our next piece is inspired by classical Earth ballet. We call it The Nutcracker Strikes Back, a fusion of Tchaikovsky and tactical maneuvers. The human fleet suddenly shifted formation, their ships moving in perfect harmony to create living constellations against the starfield. Imperial gunners found themselves hesitating to fire, unwilling to disrupt the beauty of the display. Sir, the weapons officer reported, targeting efficiency has dropped to 12%. The crew is requesting permission to record the performance. Vex Thor watched as his perfect military formation began to deteriorate. Young officers were studying the human movements with unconcealed admiration. Several gun crews had started swaying in rhythm with the defensive patterns they were supposed to be disrupting. Most concerning of all, Xena continued, her crystalline resonance carrying a note of wonder. The humans appear to be improvising new defensive techniques on the spot. They're treating our attack patterns as inspiration for their performance. As if to demonstrate this point, a human ship designated Jazz Hands performed what Captain Chen described as a spontaneous interpretation of imperial geometric formations through the lens of modern dance. The maneuver not only evaded all incoming fire, but somehow caused 3 imperial gunners to burst into applause. Their strategy, Xena concluded, her form now pulsing with multiple colors, seems to be based on a simple but effective principle. It's difficult to maintain military discipline when your enemy's defense strategy qualifies as performance art. Grand Admiral Vex Thor's scales settled into a pattern that hadn't been seen in Imperial records for millennia: appreciation. Despite himself, he found his upper right hand tapping in rhythm with the human ship's movements. Perhaps, he mused, watching another perfectly executed defensive dance, there is something to be learned from their approach to warfare. Sir, Xena added, her crystalline form resonating with barely contained excitement, Captain Chen is requesting your review scores for their performance thus far. The crystalline bridge of the eternal dawn had changed. Where once there was only the geometric perfection of imperial design, splashes of color now danced across its surfaces, reflected from the spectacular light show the human fleet was producing. Young officers had abandoned their rigid postures, drawn to the viewports to watch the ongoing performance with unconcealed wonder. Status report, Grand Admiral Vex Thor commanded, trying to ignore how his own scales had begun shifting in rhythm with the human ship's movements. Xena's crystalline form had fully embraced its new rainbow hue as she processed the incoming data. Sir, the situation is evolving. 3 of our light cruisers have begun attempting to replicate human maneuvers. The crew of the Crystal Symmetry has requested permission to, in their words, jazz up their engine signature. Through the command channel, they could hear the changing attitudes of the Imperial crews. Did you see that triple-axle defense pattern? How do they maintain structural integrity? The Cosmic Whale just wrote hello in cursive using its plasma trail. That's not just effective, it's elegant. Can we try the spiral formation, just once? Vex Thor watched as the Imperial fleet's perfect geometric patterns continued to dissolve. The human ships danced through space with joyful precision, each movement simultaneously serving as defense, art, and inspiration. Lieutenant Santa's vessel was now leading 3 Imperial ships in what Captain Chen described as a masterclass in defensive choreography. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, his crystalline form showing distinct signs of rhythmic pulsing, "combat effectiveness has dropped to, well, technically 0, but morale is at unprecedented levels. The crew is calling this the most engaging battle of their careers." Captain Chen's voice carried across the command channel, warm with amusement. "Your crews have natural talent, Admiral. With a little practice, they could really add something to our next performance. Have you considered incorporating some classical Imperial formations into a jazz fusion piece?" The suggestion sent ripples of excitement through the Imperial fleet. Ships that had spent centuries executing perfect attack patterns began to experiment with their movements, adding artistic flourishes to their traditional formations. "Grand Admiral," Zena interrupted, her voice carrying an unusual note of enthusiasm, "I've been analyzing the human approach to space combat. Their method of combining practical tactics with artistic expression appears to have benefits we never considered. The joy they take in their work demonstrably improves performance, creativity, and unit cohesion." As if to demonstrate this point, the human fleet began their most ambitious demonstration yet. Ships moved in intricate patterns, creating 3-dimensional art in the void of space. Their engine trails painted luminous designs that transformed the battlefield into a canvas, telling stories through light and motion. "Look at their formation," Vex Thor murmured, his scales shifting through shades of appreciation. "There's mathematical beauty in their chaos, artistic precision in their apparent randomness." The human ships had arranged themselves in a pattern that somehow paid tribute to both Imperial geometric perfection and human creative expression. It was a dance of balance, a harmony of order and creativity that spoke to both cultures' strengths. "Sir," Zena reported, her crystalline form now pulsing in perfect rhythm with the human ship's movements, "the crew is requesting permission to organize an inter-fleet cultural exchange program. They want to learn human dance techniques to enhance their combat mobility." Vex Thor found himself facing a moment of profound choice. The Empire had always achieved victory through the perfection of order, the elimination of chaos. Yet here were the humans, achieving something perhaps greater through the embrace of artistic expression. He watched as another Imperial ship successfully completed its first attempt at a defensive pirouette, its crew's celebration echoing through the command channel. The rigid discipline of the Imperial fleet was transforming into something new, something that combined the precision of crystal with the warmth of human creativity. "Perhaps," Vex Thor mused, his scales settling into a pattern of deep iridescence, "there is more than one path to perfection." The interior of the Eternal Dawn had undergone a subtle but significant transformation. Crystal surfaces that once reflected only perfect geometric patterns now shimmered with personalized light designs. Officers who previously moved with mechanical precision now added subtle flourishes to their movements, inspired by the human fleet's ongoing performance. "First Analyst," Vex Thor called, noting how Zena's crystalline form now pulsed with a symphony of colors, "report on fleet status." "Sir, the changes are spreading faster than we can track them," she responded, her voice carrying harmonics of excitement. "The Crystal Symmetry's crew has begun naming their ship's maneuvers. The Dawn Dancer Squadron is experimenting with synchronized formation flights. And," she paused, her form flickering with amusement, "3 engineering crews are attempting to modify their ship's shield harmonics to play something called classical rock." Through the command channels, evidence of the transformation echoed. Quantum Lance, your light trail calligraphy is improving. Try adding a flourish at the end of your defensive spiral. Star Prism, excellent interpretation of a Beethoven symphony through movement. Your evasive pattern efficiency increased 40%. Has anyone else noticed how much more enjoyable patrol duty is when you add a little spin to it? Captain Chen's voice cut through the chatter, warm with approval. Your crews are naturals, Admiral. They're adding their own unique style to every movement. The precision of Imperial technology combined with creative expression, it's beautiful. Vex Thor watched as his fleet, the pride of Imperial military might, transformed before his eyes. Ships that once moved only in perfect formation now flowed through space with artistic grace. The crystalline vessels caught and reflected light in new ways, their crews discovering that the very structure of their ships could create unexpected beauty. Sir, Zena reported, projecting a new data stream, I've analyzed the effect of these changes on fleet performance. While we've deviated significantly from standard Imperial protocols, overall efficiency has increased by 63%. The crews are more engaged, more innovative, and, she chimed with surprise, happier. The tactical officer, his form now regularly shifting through rainbow patterns, added, the human approach to space combat has revealed structural possibilities we never considered. By treating our ships as instruments of art as well as war, we've discovered new applications for our crystalline technology. As if to demonstrate this point, an Imperial light cruiser executed a perfect spiral maneuver that left a double helix of crystalline light in its wake. The human ships responded with appreciative flashes of their running lights, leading to an impromptu display of synchronized movement between the two fleets. Most fascinating, Zena continued, her analysis tinged with wonder, is how the humans have helped us recognize the artistic potential that was always present in our technology. Our crystalline ships were designed for perfect geometric formation, but they're equally capable of creating beautiful light patterns through creative movement. Captain Chen's ship, now decorated with respectful interpretations of Imperial crystal patterns, moved alongside the Eternal Dawn. Admiral, your fleet's artistic development is remarkable. Would you be interested in a joint performance? We could call it Symphony of the Stars, a cross-cultural space ballet. The suggestion sent waves of excitement through both fleets. Imperial ships began positioning themselves for the collaboration, their crews eagerly adapting their precise movements to complement human artistic expression. Vex Thor felt his scales shift through patterns of deep appreciation as he watched his fleet embrace this new form of excellence. The Empire had always pursued perfection through uniformity, yet here they were discovering a different kind of perfection, one born from the fusion of precision and creativity. Captain Chen, he responded, his voice carrying new harmonics of warmth. I believe my fleet would be honored to participate in such a performance. Though I must warn you, his scales flickered with amusement. We may need some practice with the more elaborate maneuvers. Don't worry, Admiral, Chen replied cheerfully. That's what dress rehearsals are for. Space between Earth and Mars had become an impromptu theater. Imperial and human ships moved in carefully coordinated patterns, their crews working together to create something unprecedented in galactic history. The joint performance, Symphony of the Stars, was about to begin. All ships report ready, sir, Zena announced, her crystalline form now permanently showcasing a rainbow of colors that shifted with the music being shared between the fleets. The humans have transmitted the final choreography updates, and our crews have integrated them with Imperial precision techniques. Vex Thor stood at his command viewport, his scales rippling with anticipation. The past several hours had transformed his understanding of what a space fleet could achieve. Around him, his bridge crew had adapted their stations for the performance, adding artistic lighting effects to their usual tactical displays. Captain Chen, he called, the Imperial fleet stands ready. Wonderful. Chen's voice carried the warm enthusiasm that had become familiar to Imperial crews. Remember everyone, this isn't about perfect execution. It's about expressing the joy of two cultures coming together. Lieutenant Santos, would you do the honors? Lieutenant Santos' voice rang through both fleets. 3, 2, 1, begin. The performance opened with the Imperial ships arranged in their traditional geometric formation, but instead of the usual rigid patterns, the crystalline vessels began to move in fluid, graceful arcs. Their natural light-refracting properties, once used solely for camouflage, now created cascading rainbows across the starfield. Phase 1 commencing, Xena reported, her voice carrying harmonic overtones of excitement. The Dawn Dancer Squadron is beginning their interpretation of Swan Lake. The human ships joined in, their colorful hulls complementing the crystalline light shows of their Imperial counterparts. The Space Whale ship performed a graceful barrel roll through an arch of light created by 3 Imperial cruisers, leaving a trail of bioluminescent particles that formed a double helix pattern. Fleet efficiency at 157% of normal parameters, the tactical officer reported, his crystalline form pulsing with the rhythm of the performance. The creative adaptations are actually improving our ship's maneuverability. The performance built in complexity as both fleets executed increasingly intricate maneuvers. Imperial ships created geometric light patterns that human vessels danced through, while human ships painted artistic designs in space that Imperial vessels transformed into 3-dimensional crystal formations. Beginning the grand finale, Captain Chen announced, "Admiral, your fleet has perfected this movement beautifully in rehearsal. Shall we show the universe what harmony looks like?" Vex Thor's scales shifted to a pattern of deep appreciation as he gave the command. Imperial Fleet, execute formation Stardance Alpha. What followed was a demonstration of perfect synchronization between order and creativity. The Imperial ships arranged themselves in a spherical formation, their crystalline hulls refracting light in precisely calculated patterns. The human fleet wove between them in elaborate spirals, each ship adding its own artistic flair to the carefully choreographed dance. As the music reached its crescendo, both fleets moved as one. Imperial precision merged with human creativity to create a living light sculpture in space, a massive shifting artwork that represented both cultures. The crystalline ship's natural properties amplified the humans' colorful displays, while the humans' dynamic movements gave life to the Imperial's geometric patterns. "Sir," Xena's voice carried wonder, "long-range sensors are detecting approaching ships. It seems our performance has attracted an audience. Vessels from 3 nearby systems are arriving to watch." Indeed, space around the performance was filling with ships of various designs, all drawn by the unprecedented spectacle of Imperial and human vessels dancing among the stars. The audience sent messages of appreciation in hundreds of languages, united in their awe of what they were witnessing. "Admiral," Captain Chen called, her voice warm with pride, "I believe we've created something truly special here. Our fleets have proved that art and precision, creativity and order can do more than just coexist. They can elevate each other to new heights." Vex Thor watched as his fleet, once the epitome of rigid military precision, moved in perfect harmony with the creative human vessels. His scales settled into a pattern of profound realization. They had achieved something far greater than conquest. They had created understanding. 1 month after the historic performance of Symphony of the Stars, the Imperial Council chambers sparkled with unprecedented color. The traditionally austere crystalline walls now reflected a harmonious blend of geometric patterns and artistic expression, much like the fleet that had inspired the change. Grand Admiral Vex Thor stood before the council, his scales displaying a confident iridescence as he presented his report. Captain Chen stood beside him, her presence marking the first time a human had been invited to address the Imperial Council directly. "Honored council members," Vex Thor began, "I stand before you to propose a revolutionary addition to our fleet protocols. The recent interaction with humanity has revealed possibilities that challenge our traditional understanding of perfection." The chamber's crystalline surfaces rippled with the council members' reactions as Xena, now the newly appointed Director of Cultural Integration, projected images of the transformed fleet. Imperial ships moved with new grace, their crystalline structures creating artistic displays while maintaining their tactical efficiency. In the past month, Vex Thor continued, fleet performance has improved by 218%. Our crews show increased innovation, adaptability, and job satisfaction. The integration of human artistic principles with imperial precision has created something greater than either approach alone. Captain Chen stepped forward, her uniform now incorporating subtle crystalline elements that complemented its traditional design. "If I may, esteemed council," she began, "what we've discovered goes beyond military applications. This is about bridging different ways of seeing the universe." The images shifted to show joint training sessions between human and imperial crews. Imperial officers learned fluid movement and creative expression, while human pilots studied the mathematical beauty of crystalline formations. Together, they created new techniques that honored both traditions. "The Empire has always sought perfection through order," Vexthor noted, his scales shifting through patterns of wisdom gained. "But humans have shown us that perfection can take many forms. Their creative chaos, when combined with our precision, creates a harmony we never imagined possible." Zena's display showed the impact spreading beyond the military. Imperial cities had begun incorporating artistic elements into their crystalline architecture. Cultural exchange programs flourished as humans learned imperial geometric arts, while teaching their dance, music, and visual expressions. "We are already receiving requests from other species," Chen added, smiling. "The performance we created has sparked interest across the galaxy. Everyone wants to learn this new way of moving through space, of combining art and efficiency." The council chamber filled with harmonious resonances as members discussed among themselves. Finally, the High Counselor spoke, their crystalline form refracting light in sophisticated patterns. "Grand Admiral Vexthor, you were sent to bring humanity into the Imperial Order. Instead, you and Captain Chen have brought new order to the Empire itself." The High Counselor's form shifted to display formal approval patterns. "Let it be recorded that humanity's first contact with the Empire has resulted not in conquest, but in collaboration. The Imperial Fleet Academy will establish a new division, the Institute of Artistic Navigation and Creative Defense Studies." Captain Chen's eyes sparkled with joy as she turned to Vexthor. "It seems, Admiral, that our little performance has started quite the revolution." Vexthor's scales rippled with amusement. "Indeed, Captain, though perhaps evolution would be a more precise term." As they left the council chamber together, they passed a window overlooking the imperial capital. Crystal spires still reached for the stars with mathematical precision, but now they danced with color and light, a testament to the harmony of two very different approaches to perfection. "You know," Chen mused, watching an imperial ship perform a graceful spiral maneuver that would have been unthinkable a month ago. "When we first detected your fleet, we expected either conquest or combat. Instead, we all found something better, a chance to grow." Vexthor's scales shifted to display a pattern he had created himself, blending imperial precision with human creativity. "Perhaps that, Captain, is the truest perfection of all." In the space above them, imperial and human ships continued their dance among the stars, their movements a constant reminder that sometimes the most powerful victories come not through conquest, but through understanding.